So, good evening, everybody. My name, hopefully you can see the screen there. My name is Aled Hughes. I'd like to welcome you on this beautiful evening. I know you all want to be outside, running around with your children or having a drink, but I'll be about 25, 30 minutes. And if you have any questions, it could be longer. Thanks, Trevor, for introducing me. Unconventional, I don't know. Because I don't actually know any other way of actually bringing this information to you. So what I'll do is I'll give you an example. I'll give you a profile of my background, and then we'll kind of go through exactly what the heading of this evening is, what activities to do at home this summer. So I can't seem to, here goes. So it's Aled Hughes, A-L-E-D. Obviously, as you can well imagine, it's a good Welsh name. Born in Wales, did a degree in human movement studies. So I have a background in sport and always have loved sport. I'll show you a 360 kind of thing about myself. School was always about the sport, always was supposed to be playing top class sport. So I ended up doing a degree. Then when I was in London, became a professional tennis coach, worked in a lot of tennis clubs, etc. So played tennis to a high standard. But I ended up in Ireland in 2000, opening a club called Riverview, which is in Dublin. After that, when I actually left that club, I actually developed my own business. So I developed Codex Kids and Speed for Sports. Codex Kids is just weekly classes for children to develop their fundamental movement skills, physical literacy skills. Speed for Sport is exactly what it says. It's basically looking at running and how to help children get faster. So we had these two businesses running. As we started running them, I was actually getting more and more information about motor skill acquisition, which was from my degree. But I was learning a lot about physical literacy and learning a lot about FMSs. FMS is fundamental movement skills. And from my background in tennis, we always used to look at children and say, give me the athlete, and then we can actually play any sport. So I actually did a lot of this in my past in tennis clubs. So we looked at children who were physical literacy, were at a high level, they had all the fundamentals in place. And then we taught them actually how to play tennis. So they were athletes who play tennis. And that's proven to be so in the last 10 years in tennis, especially with Roger Federer, Djokovic, and Rafa Nadal, but then very much so in rugby as well. And we're seeing that. And that's the area I worked in. So I was working with a lot of children. And then what actually occurred was we were getting lots and lots of children coming in who had, mothers would come in or fathers would come in and say, we have an issue with, say, a lack of physical literacy or not being able to catch and throw. So I actually developed a business called Codex360. So I was working with children then in these classes who had DCD, motor skill issues, low interest in physical activity. And in turn, some of them had low confidence. Dyspraxic children don't necessarily have low confidence, but what children want to do, and this is what my background is, and maybe it is unconventional, is, but I just think children want to join in with their friends and they want to be the same. And that's it. So maybe I am a little bit different, but I'm never going to kind of stop that and just say, when I look at a child, I try and give the children the skills for them to have a better daily life, which is tying their shoelaces, which is trying to ride a bike, which is playing with their friends and catching ball, which is playing with the girls and doing a cartwheel like everybody else. So that's what I've always tried to do. I'm not going to apologize for doing that for children. So that's what I developed within my business, which was within Codex Kids, within Codex 360. There's a product called the Codex 360 MAT. And what was happening was I was actually developing classes with children with dyspraxia. So a lot of children with DCD were coming to me. And what I was finding is that because I'm a visual learner, so I was looking at the children going, why aren't they learning? So what I'm able to do, because I work for myself, is come up with solutions. So if a child came into my class and didn't understand it, I drew a picture. And then I go, Why say 1,000 words when I can paint a good picture? So I put a picture up and they go, oh, fantastic. So I had all of these images up in a hall that I use. And then one day I decided I'm going to put all of those images and all of those exercises onto one mat. So that's where the Codex 360 MAT comes into fruition. But because I'm from a physical background, I don't have that stamp. So somebody would say to me, Aled, you're working with a lot of children. What's your background? So I'd say, obviously, I play sport, I play tennis for Wales, etc. But for a man or a woman who's giving me their child with DCD or dyspraxia, I wanted that badge. I wanted to be further educated. So I started my postgrad a couple of years ago in NUI Galway on specific learning difficulties. And out of that, I did my first essay, and I won't be able to hear you laugh, but when I handed my first essay, I think the lady's exact words were, it was like reading a Peppa Pig book. It was very basic and very simple, and I spoke about myself. So the lady who was doing the course with me said, can I assess you? And I got assessed, and I was diagnosed with DCD and dyscalculia. And then if you look back up the page, it all makes sense. Those years in school now made complete sense to me, because I struggled in school, but my outlet was something that I was good at. And my parents really, really super helped me into being the best sports person. But to this day, I can never, ever remember my parents talking to me about schoolwork, never about my grades, never. Everything was good enough. Everything was good enough as long as you work hard, as long as you work hard, as long as you work hard. So dedication and consistency has been at the forefront of my life. So with a diagnosis of DCD and dyscalculia, and I'm sure there's a bit of dyslexia in there as well, I've actually found the postgrad extremely difficult. And then obviously I meant from that, the reason for doing it was to do my master's. So I'm doing a master's starting this September on DCD, and it's to do with, we're getting a pilot group of 24 children, 12 children doing carrying on their own programs, what they're doing, and 12 children doing an intensive course on the Codex 360 MAT. So this is happening all of this year. So, and then obviously we're launching the Codex 360 MAT. The website is there. It's actually launched this afternoon. The home page is up there. If you'd like to view it, fantastic. It's just a product that might help your children. We didn't design it for children with DCD. We actually designed it for all children. And we'll go into those skills that all children need as well, like listening, like working memory, like sticking to a task, like concentrating. So on to the next one. So as you can see, I don't need to read everything out for you, but this is our big belief, and this is my belief, and this is the business belief, is that we move to learn to move. So the child's brain can be connected, can be developed. Neuroplasticity is the big kind of buzzword at the moment, and I actually am a great believer in neuroplasticity. You might see people having major accidents and going into Dunleary, into the rehab center with brain injuries, and they've had such a bad head injury that they've lost their memory, etc. And then 12 months later, 14 months later, 36 months later, they're actually remembering the name, they're remembering who they are, they're remembering, and they somewhat get back on a road. So therefore, how did that happen? It's because the brain can scaffold, it can change neural pathways. And that's the very positive part of the work that we do. And I am a massive believer. I am a massive believer that we can help and make children extremely happy or better at any activity if we follow certain rules. I'm not a believer in children with dyspraxia or dyslexia or ADHD and saying, oh, well, that's the way they are and they're all going to be the same. No, there's a pathway. You've just got to find the pathway for your child. Hopefully within this talk, then you get some of that information. So the title was activities to do this summer. So I'm going to throw this up straight away and then you can have a look at it, but I'm going to shoot through it. And then because we're going to go into it at the end as well, because I don't think the exercises are the most important thing. If you can Google dyspraxia, DCD, and activity to do with your children, you can see lots up on the internet. That's one of the issues we have. is that there's so much noise up there with it. So you then have to look at it and just go, who do I believe in, and who do I follow, and who do I trust? I work with 62 clients every week, and I only have 62 clients, and they come every single week. And does my program work? I believe so. It's going to be obviously put to the test through the master's program we're doing, but we see results. We see a difference in their physical literacy because we actually assess, we don't guess. We assess the children that come into Codex 360 through a physical literacy program, physical literacy testing and fundamental movement skills. And then we actually then test them at the end, but also we do a confidence test as well. So some of the activities that you could do this summer. Now you might go, oh, I've seen all of these ideas, but it's just the way we format it. You might go, if you take one kind of idea from this evening and you go, great, I learned that. Then if that's the one activity you do this summer and it makes your child feel happier and makes them feel confident about moving their body, then that is exactly what this whole evening is about. So what I've done is I've actually thrown up. So say, for example, I'm giving you all the options. So outdoors. So this is in the garden. This is in the park. Go cycling. Why is cycling so important? And then there might be people on the podcast, on the Zoom call here, the children can't cycle yet. So what we say in the program is that if you've got I can up here, then what's at the bottom? And most people would say, I can't. And it's incorrect. I can is there, I can't is there, and I won't is there. And that's the ability that I think that we do within our business, is that we change children's perception and test them to do. So we have programs at the moment on cycling where children do a 6-week program and they don't get on a bike. They do this thing called disassociation with my program, and we disassociated their head, their upper body and their lower body, because when you cycle a bike, your head has to do one thing, your arms have to stay still, and your legs have to cycle. So there's 3 working parts. That's called disassociation. We work on those skills through other activities. So this is some of the things that you could do. Fun family, kind of go cycling, go scootering, which a lot of parents do. Fun family relay races. Just do something outside that gets the children moving. But in all of the activities, you are the most important person in your child's life. You are the silver bullet. Going to an OT and going to Codex 360 and going to any help you can have within DCD and Dyspraxia is fantastic. But the silver bullet is actually you as a parent. And if you can actually participate and harness it all, you will be completely fulfilled. And your child will have a completely fulfilled life as well. But these are some of the ideas. Fun relay races. Why? Because the children need to see you move. If you move, your children will move. So move with them. Have some fun. Fall over. Building an obstacle course is one of the biggest things that we tell parents to do. So everybody on our program, in the summer program, they buy these packs of us and they just set up a obstacle course in the back garden using cardboard boxes, cones, sticks, whatever. You don't have to buy the pack. You can make it all up. And the children have a go and you time them. And then what must you do? You've got to have a go. You've got to have a go. So you're a role model. Then another exercise is when you're walking up to the park, work on working memory. That game of I go to the shop and buy. So I say, I go to the shop and buy cornflakes. And then your daughter or son says, I go to the shop and I buy your cornflakes and the milk. And then I have to say, I go to the shop and I buy the cornflakes, the milk and sausages. And then they have to, and it's just, so it's working memory. It's fun. How long do you do it for? 30 seconds, 60 seconds. It's fun. And then I spy. You have something beginning with B, so you're getting them using and pulling words out. So I spy, and what I do is the opposite way. I actually do it. I say, I spy something beginning with P, and then they have to come up with that word that might be the P word, etc., which is obviously, that's how you play the game. So there's lots of different activities in regards to outdoors. These are some of them. All of this information you don't have to write down. You will get a copy of all of this. Indoors, balloon time. I've got, I'll show you videos at the end. So there's free videos to go on our YouTube channel. And there's a video in there called Balloon Time. So balloons cost you about 1 cent a balloon. You go down to a local shop, you get balloons. The one thing about balloons is you leave them in the house And even if they're lying on the ground, the kids will actually play with them or kick them or move them. They don't break anything. I remember my childhood, my mother would go, "Oh, don't play with that ball in the house, you'll break something, get outside." And then I'd break the window anyway. Balloons, they don't bring anything. The one thing that's fantastic with a balloon, which is different to a ball, you give a child a ball, they throw it up in the air, they use their throwing hand. And they'll only use their throwing hand with their tennis ball. You give the child a balloon, and the first thing they'll do is they'll start using both hands. So then they're starting to cross the midline. Then they're doing bilateral integration, which is using both sides simultaneously. So it's a great simple exercise to do, and you can join in. And it's, again, these exercises are not meant to be 10 minutes today and let's do it and tick it off. It's about picking, and I'll show you an exercise at the end that we can do that'll make this a little bit easier for you. Finger exercises. This is a great one. I can't see you, so you're all going to try this. But I might, whose name can I see up here? Alison Benson. I might ask Alison Benson at the end to have a go at this exercise. So everyone's going to have a go at this at home. So what you do is you put one thumb up in the air and a pinky. I can't see you, so don't be embarrassed. And this is what you're going to do. You've got to change. So everyone have a go at that. Now, I can't see anybody, but some people are doing this. They're probably going, "Oh yeah, I can do it." Yeah, no. It's thumb up in the air, pinky up in the air. And these are just fun exercises. But what's that got to do with dyspraxia? It's actually doing a skill that lots of other children are unable to do. But the one thing we want to do is we give a child a skill or an exercise, and then we know it's difficult. But when they can do it, the confidence they get that they can show their friends something that nobody else can do. This is a difficult one because you're using different parts of your brain. So this hand here is being, messages are coming from this side. This hand is being, so what you're doing is you're crossing over to do it. That's called the pinky and thumb exercise. Alison Benson, hopefully you're ready for that later on. It's the only name I can see, Alison. There's another exercise called 1, 2, 3, 4. In the car, it's a really simple thing of working memory again. So we come across with a lot of children with DCD or dyspraxia who have poor working memory. It's a skill. So therefore, work it. Number games. We've got a podcast on the new website. There's a podcast that's called In the Car. And what it is, it's me on the video, it's me on the podcast, and we just play games with the children, and it's 8 minutes in the car. And I just go, what's 2 + 5? And they have to answer it back in the car, and you just drive along. And then there's other games to do with working memory. So if I might use letters, the alphabet, where I go B, D, F, E. What was the first letter I said? B. What was the last one I said? So it's all about working memory. Simon Says is another one that you can do indoors. And then the jar. The jar is something I will show you at the end. So we've got outdoors, indoors. Then what else have we got? We've got outdoors at the beach. Some people will go away this holiday. There is a full video accessible to you that actually gives you exercise to do to develop your child's fundamental movement skills on the beach. So a classic example, I don't expect you to go down to the beach and go, "We're doing FMS." But my children used to go to the beach and they'd play, and then they go, "Dad, can we play a game?" Or, "Dad, I'm bored." So therefore then what I did was I just made up some exercises that would help them have some fun and do some physical literacy with it. So that video is there and it's accessible to you as well. I'll show you the links then as well at the end. And then the other one then is here, which is, I can't see that at the moment, which is outdoors. So when we're outdoors, when you're going for a forest walk or a nature walk, walk over uneven ground. It changes your child's balance. It changes their proprioception of where they are. If you go on even ground all the time, it gives them it's not the real world all the time. So therefore, when they go to the forest, let them walk up a hill, let them run around in the trees, climb branches. The grip strength of a child, they say, in the last 15 years has decreased, not massively, but about 32%, I think I read in a research paper. But you would think that with children playing more Game Boys, PlayStations, etc., that their grip strength would improve. No, it's just fingers. That's not grip strength. Grip strength is actually holding, pulling. So therefore, grip strength, but we know then the children with DCD have some issues with handwriting. And then they go, my arm is tired. The research says over the last 15 years, the grip strength has decreased. So you need to look at how do we develop grip strength? Climbing. Play hide and seek. When you play hide and seek, you're planning ahead. You're thinking outside the box. Where will that, we play hide and seek on a Saturday. I have a dyspraxia class on a Saturday and we do hide and seek. And it is amazing to watch children being found in the first 5 seconds, because they're actually not so good at actually playing hide and seek, because they just go and hide in the most obvious place and then they get found and then they go, and the games go really quickly. It's actually planning ahead where I'm going to hide. Why won't this person find me? Picking up small items, hand-eye coordination, fingers, pick up stones, pick up leaves, pick up this. So you're working on their little skills all the time that your child might have an issue with. Definitely find some big branches, drag them. Drag the branches into, make a teepee, make a hut, make a whatever, pretend campfire, but let the children grab, because every time you grab and pull things, your elbows at learning where they actually are. There's a big thing that we do with the clients that come into us. We get them to draw themselves. So every child has to draw themselves 4 times a year inside our individualized classes. And when we draw them, and when the children draw themselves, which part of their body are they very good at and what do they not draw? And it's amazing. No hands and no feet. And from some of the research, it says that if your child draws themselves and, say, for example, your picture has no neck, your child doesn't know it has a neck. If your child doesn't draw hands, it sometimes means that your child doesn't actually know that where their hands are. So therefore, that has an effect on their hand-eye coordination, their proprioception, their hand skills, their finger dexterity, etc. And then spinning stones. So these are the activities that you could actually do this summer with your children. And lots of those things, you're probably going, right, yeah, we do them. There's a big difference where I think what I try and do is the consistency bit. So the exercises are easy, and there they all are. But I think what's more important is this next bit. So our philosophy is move to learn, learn to move. So what are you going to do this summer is move to learn. But as you move to learn, you actually learn to move. So therefore, getting you and your child to move is really, really important, and joining in with them. But again, it's not about doing half an hour set time at 6 o'clock. It's about 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, 3 minutes here, and getting everybody involved. Because even if I've got one girl at the moment, she's going to the Olympics this year. She's playing hockey for Ireland, and she was with me on Saturday. And I would still be working on some of the fundamentals with her, because it's that cutting edge she's looking for. So we still work with those type of. So some of the skills I would do with my hockey player, who's played for Ireland, whatever time she's played, I would take some of that information and take it down to my 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old dyspraxic child. It's all still the basics. Still learn to move, move to learn. So when we're doing all these exercises, they must be fun. So we'll shoot through some of these here. Success is so important to your child. Knowing that so if we do an exercise and they struggle with it, if they're doing balloon time, what you do is you change the size of the balloon, you make it easier so they feel success. Because if they feel success, what will they do? They'll want to repeat. It's like children. We see a lot of children going to sports and they go to these clubs and they go back, I don't like it. But if you ask the next question of why you don't like it, the answer is because they don't join in, because they don't have the skills to join in. So we want to try and help those children to upskill them. Skill acquisition is the learning of skills, and nearly all human beings can learn skills. So therefore, we've just got to be persistent with it. So these are some of the main components. We'll talk about feedback in a second. All the exercises have to be, they have to be fun. They have to be challenging. If they're always easy, they're always going to be successful. No, sometimes children have to find things difficult. The language we use, I'll talk about in the next video as well, in the next slide. Consistency. So I've given you, say, 15 ideas. Doing one tomorrow where you get up and go, right, we're going to do pinky and thumb at breakfast. Woohoo, fantastic. And then you don't do it for 6 weeks. That's not consistency. Consistency for a child with DCT or dyspraxia is very, very important. That's why I only work with a certain amount of clients, to give them the best possibilities. So I actually then educate the parents, because I'm not the silver bullet. The parent is the silver bullet. I'm just the library. You come to me, get my exercises, and then hopefully in a positive way, you can help your child. Set a target. Children love setting a target. I'll give you an example of one of the boys who's just been with me recently, and I'll show his profile there in a second. And then most people say practice makes perfect. I don't agree with that, because from where I come from, practice makes permanent. It does depend on how you practice. So for me, it's perfect practice makes perfect. So perfect practice. So looking at the attention to detail in regards to everything that we do. And you can do nearly all of these things in here with your child. Assess, not guess. So when they try something, you work out what level they're at. And then you hopefully, so say for example, with balloon time, you might get a balloon and they have a go and you say, right then, okay, in 20 seconds for a bit of fun, Daddy's gonna have a go at hitting the balloon up in the air. And Daddy gets 5 because he doesn't want to get 55 because the child might not get 55. So you get to 5 and go, oh, Daddy got to 5. And then the child goes, but you say, how many do you get in 20 seconds? And you write down, and they get 14. And you write down 14. Then what you do is you keep that as a visual reminder to the child. And then maybe in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days later, you go, let's have a go with that balloon time again. What did you get last time? Because most children will say, I've forgotten. But not if you put a post-it note down on a wall somewhere on the fridge. And you just go, what's the score on the fridge? Balloon time, 14. Let's go, see if you can beat 14. And then what they do is they get 16 and then you write it down. But without you knowing, when they go to the fridge, they will see the numbers increasing and getting better. That's how children develop self-confidence, because it's repeat, repeat, repeat. If you look at any videos to do with self-confidence, increasing self-esteem, it's repeat, repeat, repeat. But it's obviously got to be a positive repeat, repeat. So therefore you're making your children feel immensely powerful about themselves and having that moment where they go, that was great, I'm getting better. And that's all it's about. If you're getting better every day, wow, fantastic. So that's an overview there. What we actually try and do within what I think that you should actually look at a lot more is these two are really, really key. With any exercise, I can give you a million exercises, but if you said, Aled, what should I really focus on? It's the language that you use and the way you feed back your children. What do I mean by that? Is the language. Gain your child's attention before you do anything. Are you looking at me? Give them a cue. Yeah, eyes on me. You don't want to be the teacher, but you just go, right, I'm going to say something and say, look at me, because this is what I'm going to do, and this is what we've got to do. Get your child's attention. This is something that I've learned from my business partner. I do speak very quickly, especially when I get excited and I'm doing a talk. I speak too quickly. My business partner would say that you should be speaking 123 words per minute. If you actually tried that, you would find it very difficult and maybe sound quite annoying because it is quite slow. But there is a natural tendency so I actually asked Marinet previously, if you had one wish in schools, what would you do with every single teacher? And she said, I'd get them all to speak slower so more children can actually understand what's going on. And it's so true. And I've learned so much from her in regards to speaking. And I didn't know this, but if you put 100 children in front of 2 televisions and you put Peppa Pig on one and SpongeBob SquarePants on the other, which one do most the children watch and interact with? And I know you're saying SpongeBob, it's actually not, it's actually Peppa Pig, because the language is much slower. In SpongeBob SquarePants, they speak much quicker, and the children can't actually listen into it. And so the imagery is more powerful, but the words and understanding it is from Peppa Pig. So that's why SpongeBob was designed like that for an adult audience. It wasn't actually meant to be for a child's audience. That's why the language is quicker. So it's not a child's audience, it's an adult audience. I learned that. Good information. precise instructions. Use sequencing words. So first we're going to do this out. First, we're going to build a obstacle course. Then we're going to put the boxes out. After that or next, I want you to do this. So your child understands sequencing. So things like, like stand on the box, go under the table, go inside the hoop. But sequencing words are seriously important. So when you are actually talking and you say something to your child and they give you that blank look that my children have given me for the last 16, 17 years, I don't go now, oh God, they don't understand. I go, that's me, it's my language. Right, I should have maybe looked at my language that I was using it. So be careful with the language that you use. Be precise with it. So use words that you want your children to learn, use them on a daily basis so they understand. When I teach in a school, I say stand in a line. Holy genie mac. It's a mess, it's a carnage. Because what you do is you get the real listeners going to the front and they're in the line and then everything else. So as a teacher, I just go, right, you've got 10 seconds to get in line. 10, 9. And what happens is the listeners go in and then the other children copy. But what I don't do is tell the children at the front, you're great again because you got in line. I actually go to the rest of the class and go, well done for copying. That was really good. That's called sticking to a task. That's called listening to me. Thank you. Well done. Because it's easy to point out the children that do everything. But we need to help everybody in schools. Then we need to look at, oops, I can't get, oh, why is that? Right.
Just to say to everyone, if you've got any questions or anything you want to put in, just put it in the chat for our question and answer session later on. We'll just get Aled to sort out his mouse.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sorry. And then ask your child to repeat the instructions. If you're doing something, ask them to repeat it. Then, in regards to feedback, why is feedback important? Because when your child's done something, we just tend to say good. And then when they haven't done something, it's bad. I don't work in that system. I actually work off this rating system here. And inside our program, we use the rating system. So a child does an activity and I say, how do you think you did? And if you notice, somebody's shouting out, you've missed the number 7. Never use the number 7. Never have, never will. If I go downstairs this evening, I say to my wife, how are you? And she says, I'm 7 out of 10. I don't know if she's in a good mood or a bad mood. 7 is a bit of a neutral number. But if she says 6, I go, oh, right, okay, what's happened here? If she's 8, I know she's unhappy. So we do this with the children and they learn from a very early age. So I was teaching a child today, how fast were you running? 10. And then they did something. I said, what was that like? 0. So it's a sign of maturity as well, but we want to, but with confidence, like, well done, try another number. Don't use 0 this time, try another number and let them have a go. And they might go 1 and I go, great, well done. 1's a great number. Well done. Very good. And then, so you don't want everything to be 10 or 0 because life isn't 10 or 0. Life is 6s and 8s and sometimes 4s. So you teach them because telling your children they're good. So when they get the results and you say it's good, they just think that the score they get, that's why you're happy because it's good. It should be the effort they put in. It's about the dedication they've shown. Always be the most positive person around. Your children are having difficulties. Be the most positive. I know it's difficult when you've had a hard day, but they know and they feel. They know when things aren't going well and they can feel your body language. These children, as we call them, and I've got a dyspraxic son as well, he knows and he feels things when he's not reaching certain levels that his expectations, not mine. And I just go, buddy, you're trying your best. Fantastic. Be the most positive and use that positive voice. Reinforce effort. Don't always do the result. Effort, listening skills, sticking to the task. So the reason for bringing language and feedback in, as I mentioned earlier on, you've got the exercises. The exercises are, to me, about 10%. The other 90% is the language you use and the feedback you give. Because if you do some of these exercises with the children, and you're not positive, and you don't portray this positive language, and you don't give good feedback, when you say, let's do this again, they'll go, no, don't want to do it. And then it creates tension, etc. So the language and feedback is really, really super important for me. And then what can we work on? What do you want to do next? Ask them, because if they're having a good time, they'll want to continue, and then you have to challenge them. I know it seems like a lot of work, but it actually isn't if you just bring it in snippets. A lot of the people that work inside Codex 360 use post-it notes as reminders. So they have the reminders up and they just go through the post-it notes, and so they're not doing things every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, all children should be on play dates. Saturday, fun, out with groups, classes, doing activities. Sunday, family day, sport, blah, 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 blah. So, but between Monday and Thursday, they can do some of the exercises. But on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can be doing the exercises without them knowing they're doing the exercises, just for fun, because you're joining in with them. Set a target. I just want to show you a couple of things here. So I think that children work amazingly well when they see a visual cue in front of them and are told, this is what I'd like you to do. And I started this a couple of years ago, and I just want to show you a couple of examples of one of the boys. I teach a boy with DCD, physically very, very low muscle tone. So therefore, I just gave him sorry, this is crossing the midline. So this is some of the programs we give out. So say, for example, I'm doing crossing the midline. This actually shows the exercises. And then when the child does them, they tick the boxes. That's the type of thing we do. This is the other one I was going to show you about this boy with DCD. Inside Speed for Sport. He's slightly older, but it's still, so he was doing jumping jacks, tuck jumps, mountain climbers. But look at the sheets. Look at the dates at the top. This boy was 12 years old. And what he was doing was nearly every single night, or most evenings, was doing the exercises. And then it was a visual cue. But when he came in, I just went, wow, you are totally amazing. And he used to walk out 5 foot tall, 10 foot tall. He was like, oh, this is brilliant. Aled's really pleased with me. But he was doing the exercises. But all these exercises was hopefully developing his strength. Then that was the first sheet. Then I gave him another sheet. And then there it is again. But as you can see, if I go back, he was on silver, which is on the left-hand side of the top there above jumping jacks. And then he moved on to gold. And why has he stopped? Because he left me. He left me last week. He did the last ever session because he's going into secondary school. And I'm happy because I'm the library. He's used my information and he's moved on. But he loved this. His mum loved it as well, is that he had a visual cue and he enjoyed ticking. Now you might go, that takes a lot of time. So this is one I did. I think those are the exercises, but I want to show you this one here. I think the mother is actually online watching me at the moment. This is her son. And he came back in September. He could actually skip. So we do this 30-second skipping test and we see how many skips he can do. And I just did this, pencil, pen, in the class. And I kept it in the class. So when he first started with me, he could do 4 skips in September. December, he could do a few more. But visually, I just went to him and said, right, we're going to do the skipping, Adam, in about 30 seconds. Do you want to warm up? Yeah, he's warming up. I said, now go and look at your score. Go and look at your sheet. And he'd look at the sheet and I go, what do you think? And he goes, yeah, I hope I get a little bit more today. Intrinsic motivation. I don't need to motivate him. It's there. But that took, and I am a great believer. Positive reinforcement. Well done, Adam. Look at the improvement. Perfect practice makes perfect. And then I'm a great believer in, I am proud of him. So I'm going to tell him he's not my son, but I am proud of him because I know that he hasn't been born talented. He's born with effort, sticking to a task, setting a goal, reaching a goal, because that's what life is about, reaching mini goals. And hopefully if he gets confidence from my classes and coming to see me, hopefully then that in turn goes into the classroom and to other things that he's doing, because he's got this growth mindset that says, I can try, I can. So that's some of the examples there. I think in the program earlier on, there's a thing in there called the jar. I think this is a wonderful thing to do with your children. You get a jar. All the activities that I put up earlier on, you write them on a piece of paper. So you write all the exercises on a piece of paper. Get your child to do this. Don't you do it. They need to practice the handwriting. That's another question about handwriting, about computers. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, I went to see somebody and they said, don't have to worry about my child's handwriting. There'll be computers doing everything for them. And my answer was, that's one side of the argument. The other side of that, if my son sends an email to his wife wishing her happy birthday in about 20 years' time, I'll shoot him myself. Should be a birthday, should be a card, handwritten. He's going to have children. He might want to write in front of them. Handwriting is still important. Computers are there to help them. Keyboards are there to help them, but they still need to try and handwrite. So therefore, going back to this, so you write all the pieces of paper. Where do we put them all? Inside the jar. You shake the jar. And then you say to your child, right, you agree to everything. And then you just say, right then, okay, take one out. And then it goes, let's all go cycling. And then that's what you're doing. You take it out, you put a tick on it and you put it back in and you all go cycling. Then maybe 3 days later, you take another one out. And then it might be build an obstacle course using FMS lists. I'll show you that in a second. But it's a great way of doing different things, like playing board games, like jumping in the sea, like going for a swim, ball time. It's the jar of activities, the jar of fun, where mum, dad, siblings, everybody joins in, not just mum. Because I do all these classes and 99% of the dads I've never met. It's the mommies that I see. Get your husbands involved, girls. So FMSs, these are FMSs. So we build our obstacle courses around these. So what you do is when you go outside, you build an obstacle course and you try and use locomotion. So you say to your child, right, I want to see one section of the build. Because once your children have got FMSs, they say that your children can actually play most sports and join in any type of physical activity. And I do agree with this. I really do agree with it, because my background was I could run, I could jump, I could gallop, I could leap, I could hop, I could think. Yeah, those are just physical. But if your children can do those things, their participation levels increase. Everybody wants to get faster. Everybody wants to jump further. But if they can join in, they can join in. And then they're like their peers, like their friends. So, and then there's object control. So the jar is a really nice idea. These are the FMSs that you join in to build onto your obstacle course. All of this information comes with this presentation. There's a lot of information there, but hopefully you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, sorry about that. But if you do want to see some of the information, we have got a lot of social media. This website here, Codex 360, is the new business that was launched and went live today on the homepage only. And then we have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, podcasts, and email. If anybody wants to kind of contact me directly, please reach out. Reach out if you want me to come and talk to you, if you want me to come down to your area and talk. I'm very, very passionate about this area and I'm trying to get better at it every day. That's why I'm doing my master's. I want to get better at it because I want to find out more about myself. I want to help other children and help parents to understand the whole thing. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. If we have any questions, Trevor, we'll shoot away.
Yeah, guys, if anyone wants to add some questions, just one or two contact questions about getting in contact with you, but you might answer this and give us your view, Aled. So a lady says her 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old daughter was diagnosed last November. In your experience, would you advise telling her about the diagnosis, or how would you approach that? Is probably a better way to put it in your own experience.
Tell her. It's the way you explain it. It's the way you sit her down. Because as you said, yeah, I think you asked in the poll, Trevor, do you think people understand dyspraxia? And what was the result? 100%?
Yeah,
I think
100%.
What was it, Trevor? I think 100% people said that people don't understand dyspraxia.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm a great believer in telling the children. And I just say, you're special. And then point out those people that are special with, okay, we do have to look to role models. They wouldn't be my role models as such, but you might just go, so-and-so's got dyspraxia. And the way I explain it, I've always, quite a few children would say, how do you explain it? And the way I explain it is in a visual way. And I just say to them that you're on a road and there's cars, your car is driving on the road and that car is like your brain. And the cars are driving up and down, and that's what's happening inside your brain. There's information going up and down. But sometimes there's the bus or a lorry in front of you. And with a normal person, I don't say the children, but with a normal person, the car sees the bus and it goes around it and moves on. And the pathways are still clear. What I say with children with dyspraxia is that they see the bus or the lorry, the car goes behind, they stay there for a while, and then eventually they go around the car. It just takes them a little bit longer to go around the bus. And that's what their brain is like. So it's not slower. It just takes them a little bit longer. They have to think about it. They have to look to their right. They have to look. They're just taking their time. And I just explain it like that because when I got diagnosed at 54, I've got to be honest, I was actually quite shocked. And I wasn't hurt. Now I'm 54. But it just made sense. And I know that there's some people listening to this talk who are clients of mine personally, and I talk openly about it, but it's not done it's not sadness. It's yeah, you're dyspraxic. Wow, let's go. And kind of the way I just do reverse psychology on it. So I'll give you a quick story here, Trevor, is that a boy who was on the south side with me joined me in sixth class. His parents told me, you cannot tell anybody that he is dyspraxic. And I just went, yep, that's up to you. And then he stayed with me for first year and second year. In second year, he was in a very good rugby school. He was on the A's, but he was on the B's. He wasn't going to get into the A's for this year. So I just said to him, I know somebody who's in Tag Rugby Ireland, and they're looking for young players. And I want to take you up there. And I reckon if you go, I reckon you'll play for Ireland this year. And he goes, I'd love to. And I said, but this is the condition. I said, you have to introduce yourself as Michael with dyspraxia. And he said, I'm not doing it. And I said, you can't go. I said, I want you to feel comfortable with it. We've talked about this. And I promise you, when you go up there, people will go, what's dyspraxia? And he goes, no, they won't, Aled. And I said, they will. He went up. He said, hi, my name is Michael. I have dyspraxia. Everybody in the group went, what's dyspraxia? And he said, right, it's like my brain works like this. There's a car going here and it goes around here and it goes there. And he was fantastic at doing it. It's the way you explain it. And lots of parents don't actually understand dyspraxia themselves. So make the simple version. Just do the simple version of, it's just that this is happening with you, but you're more creative. Look at the positive sides. Brilliant personality. You're outgoing. I do a Saturday class with children with dyspraxia. They're completely bonkers, and I love them to death because they shoot for the breeze and they jump in and they get involved and they kind of talk, kind of openly. And I actually really, really enjoy that. There's so many other qualities for children with dyspraxia and what your child can do. So tell them what they're really, really super good at, and then just go, and this is something, that I'm not so good at, but we're all, as parents, there's lots of things that we're not good at. We don't tell people. But it is difficult for a child who's struggling in school to be in school for 6 hours a day. I will actually acknowledge that massively because I struggled 6 hours a day, every day. And that's a long time to struggle in school. But I had a massive outlet, which was called sport. And luckily I was kind of pretty good at it and stuff. So you need to find what your children are good at and then help them on that path with it. Hopefully that answers it, Trevor.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Just a question. Are you happy to explain how you actually got diagnosed, if you know what I mean? How did that come about?
It was just through the essay I wrote. So obviously I finished my first degree at 24 years old. And then I decided at 50, whatever it was, 53, to do a master's. And they said you have to do your postgrad first. So I hadn't written for 20, 30 years. And it was just the essay that I wrote. And luckily for me, the tutor I had, I knew she liked me. We got on. She liked the conversation because it was online as well during COVID. And she just openly one day said, wow, I read that essay, Aled. And I said, is it that bad? And she goes, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's just not educational. It's not an academic writing piece. And you've written about yourself and your childhood and the problems you had in maths and all this stuff. And she's obviously qualified to actually do an assessment. And she said, but it's not a full diagnosis. I'm not going to give you a rubber stamp that says, we're going to do it. Do you mind doing it for a bit of, and I said, do you mind doing it for a bit of fun for me so you can actually do it? But I don't want the official diagnosis. And she said, cool. So I just did an online test with her and stuff, and it just made sense. But now I actually openly stand there and just go, "Hi, I'm Aled Hughes and I'm dyspraxic," and people go, "Yeah," and it does, you know, kind of, as we know, what we worry about, I always kind of, with my son, you know, kind of I would say that my son's dyspraxic. I won't have the assessment because I can see the school system, and I personally don't see that the school system massively helps them. It helps children, yes. Does it massively help? Does it change their level of dyspraxia? And personally, the jury is out with it. So what I do is I've actually just helped my son personally doing the things that I think he needs, which are daily life activities and future life activities that needs, like things like planning. So he is pretty poor at planning, but he's not anymore, because everything we've done is say, right, then we're going windsurfing. Okay, we're going windsurfing tomorrow. What do you need? And then he's got a checklist: board, sail, boom, mast, foot mast. He's got everything. So he learns those skills by writing them down. Eventually, now he just does it off the top of his head. But it's a skill. But I just keep on doing it again and again and again and again and again with him. His handwriting wasn't that good. So we just came up with an idea for spray painting. So we have a wall outside, spray painting, and he was just spray painting. He was having a bit of fun. But what he didn't realize, what he was using his wrist. Then we were doing chalk. Then just little activities. Because if a child is struggling with handwriting, the last thing you do is give them a pencil. Jeannie Mac, you're telling me that I don't like handwriting and you want me to write even more? Personally, I don't think, that wouldn't have helped me. But if I can do other things around handwriting that are simulating the same action, like using clothes pegs and snapping them, putting them onto card, getting 50 clothes pegs, putting them around the card, then they're still using the pincer grip. Then you ask them to use 3 fingers. Do you understand? So it's just, so your question was, how did I get assessed? That's how I assessed, but then I led on to something else. Sorry, Trevor.
Don't worry, it's fine. I know you well enough.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. So how would you help a non-sporty child get through 6 hours of school? Or, what would your thoughts be on 6 hours of school? And
I would change every single school with physical education. I would change it today. Because it's all, it should be about every single child. In the classroom, it's all about every child. But a lot of PE is about throw the ball out, and the teacher organizes 2 teams, and the best player, what position is he playing? Center forward. So he's up front, he's happy. And then the kids, because I saw this with my son. And where was my son, who didn't like sport? In goals, or he was sitting down with his friends. I would change PE. PE is called, Joe Wicks did this a disservice through COVID, calling himself a PE teacher. Totally incorrect. That's called physical activity. He's not a PE teacher. PE means physical education, and it's about every child in the class. So therefore, throwing, catching, jumping, turning, twisting, it's all about physical literacy. It should be part and the fundamental part of physical education. It's still inside the game for the lads who want to play football or Gaelic or hurling, which is so important. I totally get it. But my son has dyspraxia and he doesn't want to play Gaelic, rugby or soccer. But what are you doing for my son? Because that's the educational system. You should be looking for everybody. But if you did physical literacy, which was throwing beanbags, catching beanbags, throwing a frisbee, catching a beanbag, jumping over things, rolling, then the kid who's really good at sport can still run and jump and do it really quickly, but so can I. So I teach in a school only maybe 8 hours a week. And what do? I teach them all ultimate frisbee. Why? Because nobody's good at ultimate frisbee. I play lacrosse. Why? Because nobody's ever played lacrosse. So therefore, everybody starts at the same point. And lacrosse, it's not lacrosse. It's just a simple game of lacrosse. But we do physical literacy. Kids were jumping, running, twisting, turning. But everybody's getting involved. And if you make it exciting, if your child doesn't get involved, it's not your child's fault. Let me tell you. It's not. It's about the ideas that they're given. That's my take on it.
So just a quick question. So obviously, Aled, you've talked about a new business or a new setup you've got. I'll give you if you don't mind, about 5 minutes, if you can, to explain, or maybe just broaden the horizons as to what direction or what you're trying to help people with, or how you're trying to approach it. If you know what I mean, just to, what you can offer, basically.
Oh, well, so children, say, for example, what I found was, I'm quite not a lonely person. I work by myself, so I'm an isolated worker. So children walk in. So what tends to happen is a mother would call me, never a dad. The mommies are the saviors here. They call me and say, "Can you help?" And I said, "If you can fit into my schedule, then fantastic." They come into the class, and then what actually happens is I work with these children. But as I said to you before, because I needed help visually to remember the exercises and the drills and the path I wanted to take a child on, the hall at one stage that I work in had 142 pieces of paper up on the wall. And it was to do with me. But then it was helping me, because Johnny would come in and I'd say to Johnny, "I'm going to do this exercise." He goes, "What's that one?" I said, "That one over there." And because I like drawing, I'd draw a couple of figures and he'd say, "Oh yeah, okay." So then what happened was I put it all onto a mat. So it's a yoga mat, and there's 360 exercises on the mat: bronze, silver, and gold. And what you do is you just enter at the bronze level. But what you get when you buy it, you actually get a mat that helps children to be physically better than what they were. It then gives them skills of listening. It gives them skills of crossing the midline. It does a lot of work on letter formation. It does a lot of work on numeracy. It's all on side of the mat. And what you do is you buy, when people decide to buy it, they actually get the video for every single section within that mat. So it might be fundamental movement skills. So there's a warm-up where children have to, so if I go back here, there's this one here, there's a warm-up on the mat. So what does the child do in the video? They have to run across. So they run, and then they skip, and then they side skip, then they hop, then they gallop, then they leap, then they skip forwards and skip backwards. And we do all of it within 30 seconds on the mat. But your child can actually learn to do that. But what's actually happening is the videos actually educate you as a parent. So what we've done is we've taken a huge array of exercises between myself and a lady up in the Beacon Audiology who specializes in APD, audio processing disorder. So basically we have the brain in here, we have the hearing here. So what they do is they check your hearing. And if your hearing is okay, but you're still getting confused in the brain, there's like a wire, and this is how I explain it, there's like a wire that goes through, and this wire needs to be worked on to fire quickly. So my business partner is Marinet Brennan, who's in Beacon Audiology. She is fantastic. She speaks so slowly and correctly, where I'm all over the shop. So she's the brains, and I'm the doer. And then what people do is they follow the program, and it's meant to be interactive. It's meant to be great fun. And it gives people another pathway to help their children. And, things like self-regulation, things like listening. So we would do patterns. So you would look at the video and it says, there's a pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the child then has to say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a pattern of 1, 2, 4, 3, and the child will say 1, 2, 4, 3, and then you might give them a pattern of 1, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2. But because I said it too quickly, some parents are listening to this going, "Geez, I don't even remember those numbers." But if I say it slowly and articulately, if I say 1, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, people start understanding it, but then what you do is they can do the skill. Then what happens if they repeat and repeat and repeat? Self-confidence, and they feel better about themselves. And then we teach children, within I think it's silver or bronze, we actually look at cycling, how to teach a child how to cycle a bike. In the gold, we do silver, we do shoelaces. There's about 13 versions of doing a shoelaces, and we just look at them and go, right then, and you look at them. So that's what we've tried to do within this business. It's a work in progress, but we've got the first batch of mats stuck in Rotterdam on a boat at the moment, and when they're in, and this isn't about selling a product at all. This is actually about you helping your child this summer. But I am a great believer in, if there's a gadget out there, like the fidget spinners became the big thing. The fidget spinner came from amazingly, from a special educational school. The new one now is, have you seen those in the garages, Trevor? Those little popper things, the little rectangles and the poppers.
I have a house full of them.
That's come from special educational tools. Again, that's another one from a school. And somebody has mass marketed them. And so a lot of these things that are becoming global actually come from special educational toys. So what we're trying to do is we are really just trying to help children develop, be successful, and more importantly, be happy. That's it. Be happy. And what we find is that when children aren't happy, we're not happy as parents, so we're willing to do something. But what I'm trying to get across is that I'm not the silver bullet. You're the silver bullet. You just need to become a little bit more of a library and start using some of these skills without being too formal. Just be the dad or the mum that's having some fun. But let's be honest. Everybody listening to me knows how to run. So run with your children. Horizontal jump, that's pretty easy. Gallop like a horse. Your children will laugh at you. But that's life. That's supposed to be happening. That's meant to happen. Yeah, we laugh at our children, they laugh at us because we're old and decrepit, and well, I am. And so therefore, but I don't mind it. As long as my children are having fun and they're getting better at something, that's it. So that's where the MAT actually came from. It was an idea in my head just to help me visual, because I'm a visual learner. I'm not auditory at all. I can listen to songs and not know a single word, but I know the beat and I love the beat of music. But I'm a visual learner, so therefore that's where the idea came from. This sign, this logo you're seeing now, locomotion, was on the wall with me. We've just taken that off now and put it on the mat. But if you go onto the website tonight, you can see there's a little bit of action on the mat. You can actually see what it actually does for you. We've only put the front page up there this evening, just so this audience could actually have a look at it. So that's the question there, Trevor. Oh, sorry, that's the answer.